Call this Altoona City Council meeting to order Monday, September 9th, 2024 at 6 p.m. We'll now have a moment of silent prayer. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Linda, would you take roll call, please?
Councilman Beatty is absent. Councilman Butterbaugh.
Here.
Councilwoman Klinich. Vice Mayor Ellis.
Here.
Councilman Ickes.
Here.
Councilman Kelly is absent. Mayor Pacifico.
Here. Okay, we have two presentations on the agenda tonight. The first one being the city's 2023 annual audit report. And joining us here is Chris Shyrock from Young Oaks and Brown.
Good evening, everyone. Dan would have normally been here, but he had a slight illness today, so he sent me in his place. So hopefully I do a satisfactory job here. I do work on the audit with Dan, but he's the partner on the account. So I have our audit in front of us. I'm going to go over some pages. I'll flip through them quickly in my brief presentation. But before I begin, I'd like to thank Mayor and Council for having our firm continue to do the audit. Thanks to Jim and his staff for all their help throughout the audit process. All right, first 4 pages of the audit's our audit report, auditor's opinion. All the opinions that relate directly to the city's operations were considered unmodified or clean opinions, so that's the best opinion you can get. Pages 5 through 10 are the management discussion and analysis, and it's prepared by city management, giving an overview of the year for the city. If you turn to page 13, this is the statement of net position. This shows all the assets and liabilities of the city, both current and long-term, including their capital assets, net pension liability, and the OPEB liability. I just want to point out on the left-hand column, number at the very bottom, the total net position of the city at the end of 2023 was $449 million, approximately. Page 14 is a statement of activities. People in the business world might call this an income statement, if you will. And there's a governmental activities column that's specific to the city. The 5th line from the bottom shows a positive change in net position or fund balance for the year of $25 million. If you went back to that previous page, there's some fund balance that relates to the capital assets of the city. That increased by $22 million. So out of the $25 million increase in net position, the majority of it went to capital assets. Page 15, this is a balance sheet for governmental funds. It only shows current assets and current liabilities. It's a required report that we put in our audit. Starting on the left, the general fund, second line from the bottom, at the end of 2023 had $15.7 million of fund balance. That's specific to the general fund. And for all funds, we go to the total column on the right, a little over $38 million. Page 17 is the statement of revenues and expenditures. Again, this is just current activity. Column on the left, the general fund showed a positive increase in fund balance for the year of $2.2 million, and all the governmental funds showed a positive increase of $4.3 million. Yeah, not the PDF page, the actual page of the report. Sorry. All right, moving on to page 19. This is a statement of fiduciary net position for the pension trust funds. If you look, this reports that the net position held in trust for the pensions is $107 million. What this report does not show is the net pension liability of $44.2 million or the OPEB liability of approximately $32 million. So a little misleading how it's presented. Page 20 is a statement of change in that fiduciary net position. This just shows the activity of the pension trust funds for the year. The third line from the bottom shows a net increase of the year of a little over $11 million. So that relates to employer contributions, member contributions, the investment returns less any benefits paid and administrative expenses. Pages 21 through 137 are notes to the financial statements and some required information we had to put related to the pension and OPEB plans. I'm going to skip past all that. Go to page 138. This is a budget to actual schedule for the general fund. So about 2/3 of the way down, if you look at the final budget column, the city was budgeting before transfers and sale of some capital assets of an increase of $172,000. Look to the column to the right of that, actually the city ended up losing $1.3 million. So this just gives a comparison budget to actual, what was expected versus what happened. 145 and 146 pages, this is the schedule of federal expenditures of federal awards. I'm going to look at page 146. This is the notes to that schedule. It gives a total of federal expenditures for the year, $13.9 million. We performed single audits on 2 of the programs, the coronavirus money and the highway planning and construction programs, which those 2 programs total $11.4 million, or 82% of the total federal expenditures. Based on our audit procedures, we're happy to report there was no findings or question costs in relation to those federal dollars that we audited. Pages 152 to 155 is a schedule of finding and question costs. There are 3 findings related to the financial statements, and they were repeat findings from previous years that the city is working to remediate in the current year. So hopefully when we're here next year, we'll be able to eliminate some of those. That's all I have. I'll open up to any questions at this point. I'll try to answer.
Questions by anybody?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good
Appreciate you
evening.
being
Thank
here.
you.
All right, our second presentation is the 2025 minimum municipal obligation. Jim Garrett, Finance Director.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm here tonight to present the 2025 minimum municipal obligation, otherwise known as the MMO. The MMO is the amount of money that the municipality must provide for its 2025 budget. This figure, there's actually 3 figures because there's 3 plans, must be certified to the governing body no later than September 30th, 2024, and actually contributed to the appropriate plans no later than December 31st, 2025. So the plan the document that you have in front of you shows the breakdown of the police, the non-uniform, and the fire. Basically, there are 9 steps to figure this contribution out. It starts with the estimated 2024 payroll. There's a normal cost of a percentage of the payroll that's multiplied. You have an amortization amount, an estimated administrative expenditures. That equals your total financial requirements, which is line 6. There are contributions that the employees from all the unions and all the plans contribute, 5% for the fire, 5% for the police, and 6% for the non-uniform. There are no adjustments to the findings. And then you come up with the 2024 minimum municipal obligation that you're required to place into your budget. I do want to tell you that, we do receive some financial aid from the state that goes towards these plans. These numbers were actually based upon actuarial evaluations from 1/1/2023. So even though 2023 had a good year and you would expect the plans to have a higher base value, it's really at the end of 2022 is what this is based off of. So as you can see by the report, the police will have a MMO of $2,454,843. The non-uniform will have $755,048, and the fire will have a MMO of $3,132,000 and $3,132,883. $809. So, does anybody have any questions?
Questions for Jim?
Okay,
Thank you, Jim.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, we had an executive session after the council meeting last month to discuss real estate, personnel, and potential litigation. We'll now open the floor for public comment. If you would like to address council, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Please keep your comments to under 5 minutes. Floor is open.
My name is Lawrence Carter. I live at 1105 Broadway, Juniata. I want to talk about the staffing goals that were addressed in the Altogether Altoona plan. Council has accepted that plan and accepted the fact that the city's staff is under-resourced and understaffed. Currently, city departments with skeleton crews are scrambling to provide services, at times outside their area of expertise. The service to the public is compromised. As a retired city planner, I would suggest that a survey of the individual departments be conducted, asking this simple question: what staffing level would provide adequate service to the public service of your department? The information should identify the specific functions of the needed staff. The information should be provided in the departmental annual reports. The emphasis on his reports should address the service other than the cost. Cost will come up no matter what, but the focus of the report should be service. Improvements in staffing levels and expertise should also be noted in the annual report. Such a report should annually inform City Council, the administration, and the public of the progress being made to meet the components of your new plan. The report would also meet the information activities that are provided in the comprehensive plan. It's a simple request, a simple piece of information to the public. It also forces you as a group to review that information annually. Thank you. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. I have 10 copies.
Bear with me, I'm not a public speaker, so if you don't mind, I'll read my comments. Mayor Pacifico, council members, city officials, and staff, thank you for allowing me to speak to you this evening. My name is Kevin Suckling, and I'm a taxpayer and homeowner and have resided at 2042 Broad Avenue for 40 years. I come here to make you aware of a project that the Department of Works is planning, which I recently became aware of completely by chance. It has come to my attention that the city is planning on replacing the sidewalks on Broad Avenue from Union Avenue to 24th Street. This will complete sidewalk replacement from 17th Street and the Station Medical Complex all the way to 32nd Street. This has been a long time coming, and I applaud the efforts of the city to complete this corridor, particularly for the pedestrians who use it quite heavily on a daily basis. I was surprised that there was no prior knowledge or input for this project on the part of the City Planning Commission or the public in general, in light of the fact that there is no longer a shade tree commission, which was responsible for the planting of trees in front of my home. It would seem that with the abandonment of the Shade Tree Commission, there is no longer any advocacy for planting and maintenance of street shade trees. What concerns me most is the potential for the loss of the shade trees and tree lawn in front of my home and adjacent property at 2044 Broad Avenue, as well as across the street in front of my property at 2045 Broad Avenue. After several conversations on site with Rob Crossman, the engineering department manager, I ultimately expressed my desire that the trees and tree lawn in front of my properties be preserved. 2 weeks ago, I received a letter from Nate Kissel, interim city manager, informing me that the city will not be placing trees along the street and that any trees planted within the project area would be on the house side of the sidewalks in order to keep the project uniform. I contacted Mr. Kissel, and he and Mr. Crossman met with me on site last Tuesday. We discussed the project and were unable to convince each other about the uniformity and desirability of matching the work that was done in 2016 from 24th Street to 32nd Street, the value of shade trees in wells at the curb, and the value of tree lawns. I was told that my property could be skipped in the project, preserving the 2 trees and the tree lawn in front of my home, and I would hope that the tree lawns in front of 2044 and 2045 be preserved or replaced as well. I shared with them photos of a solution that the gas company found on 26th Street to replace a curb and save the tree adjacent to it, as well as pictures which show the deterioration of the concrete of the 2016 project compared to my sidewalk, which predates that project by 7 years. I would like the public record to reflect this promise of preserving the trees and tree lawn in front of my property. Furthermore, I would like to request and encourage more involvement and decision-making in this project by the public, the Planning Commission, and City Council in light of their recent adoption of the new comprehensive plan, Altogether Altoona, which speaks of the value of street trees and aesthetically pleasing streetscapes to foster growth, development, and community support. Perhaps a public forum is in order, as was done prior to the previous project. In order to prevent the waste of taxpayer money, I believe it would be prudent to ask property and homeowners in advance if they would like trees in front of their properties to prevent them from cutting them down in the future, leaving vacant tree wells in the sidewalk. At least 5 of the 101 trees planted in the 24th Street to 32nd Street project were cut down and not replaced at the hands of property owners or premature decline. At that time, 75 trees were planted in wells on the curbside with tree lawns and 26 on the house side. The majority of those trees are thriving and healthy. I believe we are all aware of the value of street shade trees, which provide shade, reduce home cooling costs, increase oxygen production, decrease noise and dust, and elevated property values. Frequently, I have witnessed Amtrak passengers, students, and other pedestrians waiting on my front steps as there is no shade at the bus stop, or resting as they make their way to Station Medical, as there is no shade from 24th Street until they reach their destination. For snow removal and the ability to keep sidewalks free of melt and ice, tree lawns are invaluable and also provide good drainage year-round, as well as providing aesthetically pleasing green space and a place for dogs to relieve themselves other than on my front yard and the shade-loving garden. My wife and I are of retirement age and hope to remain in our home without the added needed expense of air conditioning, which we have never needed before, and retain our property's value until the need to move arises. In conclusion, I would like to have placed in the public record an assurance from the city that those trees and tree lawns will be preserved. I have provided you with several photos which illustrate some of my points and would ask for your thoughtful consideration in this project, which is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to restore the first several blocks of Broad Avenue, Altoona's first suburb, to its historical stately beauty. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for me? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no more public comment, we'll close the floor and move into the resolutions. Linda?
Approving the minutes of the Altoona City Council meeting held Monday, August 12th, 2024. Item B is awarding the intake projects bid to HRI Incorporated of State College in the amount of $385,360 payable from ARPA funds, and further authorizing the interim city manager to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Item C is authorizing a temporary construction easement agreement between the city and Ed Cruz Jr. for the maintenance of stormwater facilities at 1711 North 4th Avenue, and further authorizing the interim city manager to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Item D is authorizing a temporary construction easement agreements and permanent easement agreements between the city and Roberts Four Season for maintenance of stormwater facilities at 808 Burgoon Road and 801 North Logan Boulevard, and further authorizing the interim city manager to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Item E is amending the 2021 home ARPA program, transferring $90,000 from the administration to the Lexington Avenue Affordable Housing Building Construction. Item F is approving a repository bid in the amount of $75 submitted by Tom and Anna Kroll for property located at 303 North 6th Avenue, and further authorizing the interim city manager to execute the taxing district form. Item G is approving a repository bid in the amount of $75 submitted by Tom and Anna Kroll for property located at 604 North 3rd Street. Item H is approving a repository bid in the amount of $75 submitted by Tom and Anna Kroll for property located at 606 North 6th Street. Item I is approving a repository bid in the amount of $100 submitted by Randy Folkler of Altoona for property located at 208 to 10 East Cherry Avenue. Item J is approving a repository bid in the amount of $250 submitted by Kelly Murphy of Oregon for property located at 1521 20th Avenue. Item K is approving a repository bid in the amount of $1,000 submitted by Hernaldo Vergara of Chicago, Illinois for property located at 2005 to 07 3rd Avenue. And item L is approving a repository bid submitted by Land Lending of Utah for property located as follows. They're all in the amount of $800, located at 1920 15th Avenue, 2005 3rd Avenue, 1514 8th Street, 1429 Washington Avenue, 1509 1st Avenue, 604 North 3rd Street, 303 North 6th Avenue, 606 North 6th Street, 1902 10th Street, 1904 10th Street, 1616 11th Street, and 306 Maple Avenue, and further authorizing the interim city manager to execute the taxing district forms for all of the bids just read. Are there any deletions or anything that needs to be pulled for a separate vote?
Yeah, I'd like to pull I, J, K, and L.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna call for the consent vote first. This will be on, the consent vote will be on item A through H. Councilman Beatty,
Yes.
Councilman Butterbaugh,
Yes.
Councilwoman Klinich,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ellis,
Yes.
Councilman Ickes,
Yes.
Councilman Kelly,
Yes.
and Mayor Pacifico.
Yes.
And the consent vote passes 7-0. And then we have each of the pulled items. We have item I, which is approving a repository bid in the amount of $100 submitted by Randy Folkler for property located at 208 to 10 East Cherry Avenue. Councilman Beatty,
Yeah. No.
Councilman Butterbaugh,
No.
Councilwoman Klinich,
No.
Vice Mayor Ellis,
No.
Councilman Ickes,
No.
Councilman Kelly,
No.
Mayor Pacifico.
No.
And the vote does not pass, 0-7. Then we have item J, which approving a repository bid in the amount of $250 submitted by Kelly Murphy of Oregon for property located at 1521 20th Avenue. Councilman Beatty,
No.
Councilman Butterbaugh,
No.
Councilwoman Klinich,
No.
Vice Mayor Ellis,
No.
Councilman Ickes,
No.
Councilman Kelly,
No.
Mayor Pacifico.
No.
The vote does not pass, 0-7. And we have item K, which is approving a repository bid in the amount of $1,000 submitted by Hernaldo Vergara of Chicago, Illinois, for property located at 2005 to 7 3rd Avenue. Councilman Beatty.
No.
Councilman Butterbaugh.
No.
Councilwoman Klinich.
No.
Vice Mayor Ellis.
No.
Councilman Ickes.
No.
Councilman Kelly.
No.
Mayor Pacifico.
No.
Vote does not pass, 0 to 7. And item L, approving repository bid submitted by Land Lending of Utah for each property listed in the amount of $800 each, located at 1920 15th Avenue, 2005 3rd Avenue, 1514 18th Street, 1429 Washington Avenue, 1509 1st Avenue, 604 North 3rd Street, 303 North 6th Avenue, 606 North 6th Street, 1902 10th Street, 1904 10th Street, 1616 11th Street, and 306 Maple Avenue. Councilman Beatty.
No.
Councilman Butterbaugh.
No.
Councilwoman Klinich.
No.
Vice Mayor Ellis.
No.
Councilman Ickes.
No.
Councilman Kelly.
No.
Mayor Pacifico.
No.
And the vote does not pass, 0 to 7. We have one ordinance for adoption. It was introduced by Councilman Butterbaugh, and it is an ordinance of the City of Altoona. Get by my sheet here. 1 second. City of Altoona, Blair County, Pennsylvania, which authorizes the vacation and abandonment of 15 foot of unopened alley between 38th Street and Ruskin Drive pursuant to Chapter 295-8 of the Altoona City Code, and further authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute a quitclaim deed for Goldizen Real Estate LLC and accompanying documentation to relinquish any right, title, and/or interest the city has or may have in said unopened alley, provide severability of provisions, repealer, and provide an effective date. Is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second.
Second. That's me, yes.
This ordinance was moved for adoption by Vice Mayor Ellis, seconded by Councilman Ickes, and I'll call for the vote. Councilman Beatty,
Yes.
Councilman Butterbaugh,
Yes.
Councilwoman Klinich,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ellis,
Yes.
Councilman Ickes,
Yes.
Councilman Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Pacifico.
Yes.
The vote passes 7 to 0.
All right, move on to city manager updates, Nate.
I have no updates for this evening.
All right, thank you. Council discussion items, Councilman Kelly.
Mayor, I have nothing to offer at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Ickes,
Thank you, Mayor. I also have nothing.
Councilman Butterbaugh,
All good here?
Councilman Ellis.
Nothing this evening, Mayor. Nothing for me either.
Nothing for me.
Okay, wow.
Wow.
Bill, you're on deck then.
Nothing from Bill? Seeing none?
Should I time?
You wish. Sorry. Would somebody tell me what the audit findings are? Oh, Jim.
Okay, Bill, the first audit finding has down a complete segregation of duties so that no one individual performs all functions related to any financial transaction does not exist in all instances. For example, the purchasing function is performed by and purchase orders are prepared by personnel who also perform payables and dispersing functions. In addition, in the planning department, one person initiates purchase orders, receives vendor invoices, prepares checks, has access to checks for signature, controls accounts, receivable functions, and maintains all journals. Another one is the city owns various parcels of land. However, no one tracks the acquisition or disposal of these parcels on an ongoing basis. And the last one, the city makes various loans to property owners. However, no one tracks the loans on an ongoing basis.
Are they, I believe they're familiar kinds of things, especially the first one. Is there anything the city is trying to do about that, I guess?
Actually, I have not had time to meet with the auditors to discuss in more detail what the findings are. I will be working with them to find out what detail they are and put action plans together so we can hopefully reduce or remove these before the audit next year.
I know in the past, like regarding that, the type of audit or the type of finding the first one is, there was the idea, I guess, that you don't have enough people.
Yes,
on
that's
staff
the
to
first
handle.
one kind of sounds like in that department, one person's handling more items than they should be, probably either due to understaffing or just delegation of more responsibility to other people, which again has to be looked into.
So it's possible that you might be able to solve it somehow.
Oh, yes,
Over.
yes.
Okay. Next question is, would somebody explain to me what clean opinion means when an auditor says it? Because it sounds like there's no findings, but then there were findings, you know what I mean?
That you would have to get from the auditors. I don't.
Okay. Okay,
Better than dirty.
I guess, so yeah, it sounds better. Anyway.
Hey, Bill, I mean, I'm not a CPA in full disclosure, but I do have an accounting concentration from Penn State. So a clean opinion would represent that there were no material weaknesses associated with the audit. And even in the auditor's report here, it states, no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal controls over major programs were disclosed by the audit. So there appears to be, based on the testing and performance that was done by the auditors, there appears to be no material misstatements or representations within the audit itself.
Well, does that mean that the findings are sort of on the minor side? Is that kind of the implication of that?
Yeah, so when auditors using the term material means it would have a significant impact on management's reporting of the data that's provided through the financial statements. So a material, an immaterial or an audit that is not of material misrepresentations or weaknesses would say that there have been findings that have been rather insignificant.
Okay.
But obviously the city is actively attempting to correct those.
Okay. And Jim, when you were doing the MMO report, you mentioned the non-uniform contribution as a percentage, but I didn't catch it. Could you tell me what that was? The non-uniform percentage contribution to the
The
pension.
amount?
Yeah, I think it was a percentage, wasn't it?
Well, there is a percentage used to figure out, based on the annual salary, there's a percentage of payroll.
Right, that's what I
used-
mean.
Yeah,
For the non-uniform people, what was that?
there's it's actually 11.554%.
Okay, thanks. Where?
Are you I'm sorry, I don't want to prolong this either. I just want to make sure that you answered, that he's getting the answer he wants. Are you asking for the percentage cost as payroll, or are you asking what the employee is
What the
contributing?
employees?
Oh, the
contribute?
employees contributing on the non-uniform side, 6%.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Bill.
sorry about
Thank you.
Mm-hmm, no problem.
that. Jim, where will the MMO money come from that the city pays, I guess, by the end of next year?
The city will get state aid from the state. The city also has a tax that they collect for pension money, so part of it does come from that. The balance then will come from the general fund.
Okay. And that tax, it's a kind of a surtax. What is
That's
it?
the only eligible commuter tax.
Mhm.
Yeah, Act 205 tax.
And what is the percentage?
I think it's .4.
0.4, and it's the same for city residents as well as non-residents who work here?
That I'd have to look into. But I think it might be, but let me verify before you put it in the paper.
Okay. And then could you say, Jim, what percentage of the plan, the pension plans are funded?
That I would have to look back through the audit to find that. That would take me a while, so I could get that to you if you would call me tomorrow,
Okay, good.
if that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine. And would anybody care to comment on what Larry said regarding staffing and the annual reports on the adequacy of staffing in the various
No,
departments?
he's correct. And even the audit was pretty much can be summed up in, he's right. I mean, all those findings would go away in a heartbeat if we had the staffing.
And that is one of the things, Bill, that we're working with Strategic Solutions to interview the employees and get a better feel for what they're doing and what the needs are in those departments.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's part, like, what Larry's talking about is something you're actually doing?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
we're actually doing
Yep.
that.
Yeah, we're actually doing something,
We're
Bill.
doing exactly what he requested.
Maybe not.
One step ahead.
Nobody's ever a step ahead.
Bill,
of Larry.
I think, I mean, his presentation is consistent with what the comprehensive plan said. And I think all of us here know, and the department surely know, we just do not have enough people to do what needs to be done here. And we just have to, the $64 million question is how do we figure out how to pay for that? So that's where we're at, so.
Do you have the answer to that?
There's no easy answer to that, Bill.
It was a genuine question. And then, would anybody care to comment on the gentleman's presentation about the Broad Avenue tree situation, I guess? Maybe Nate. No?
I have no comment.
That's fine. Anybody else want to say anything about preservation of street trees in general in the city?
Street trees are very important to the city. Yeah. You said
Is
in
there-
general, that was in general.
No,
Is there-
we just have to figure out a way. I mean, the other thing the comp plan addressed was the replacement of massive amounts of sidewalk and curbing. And we have to come up with a plan how to do that consistently in all these neighborhoods. We just can't be inconsistent with that. It has to be a consistent message and a consistent way to do it, so.
One of the things where we've very much improved over the years was making sure we plant the correct trees. Because where we messed up, and hindsight being 20/20 is always better, but back in the day, Mr. Wissinger donated a bunch of Norway maples, which were very pretty and excellent trees at the time. But what happened over time all over the city, these trees just grew huge and ended up upheaving the sidewalks and creating issues. And so, one thing we are doing in improving the process of these streetscapes is making sure we get trees that will have the proper root system and things of that nature so that we're not going to be overbearing 10, 20 years down the road.
Well, I think 7th and 8th Street are a good example of what happened. We plant the trees, but the homeowners then had gotten some of the duties of trimming the trees and maintaining the sidewalks and that. And those sidewalks going up 7th and 8th Street are really broken up. And that goes to Dave's point of picking the right trees and, giving them the room to grow. And we just don't want to do a project where we perpetuate that problem.
Those trees on 7th and 8th Street, they're pear trees, aren't they?
I think they're Bradford pears.
Okay.
And they've hit buses, trucks. I mean, they're just not a suitable tree for that that area.
Okay.
My only comment, Bill, would be that as you pick a tree and you try to put it into a street, we're trying to maintain a balance between, good roads, ample parking, good sidewalks, nice houses, and trees where they belong that can become shade trees. So if you have a 2-foot tree lawn between a curb and a street because you're trying to maintain 2 lanes of traffic, 2 rows of parking and sidewalks, there aren't very many trees that you can put in there that the root ball doesn't affect the sidewalks at some point in the future. So we're trying to maintain that balance, and unfortunately, there are many roads in Altoona that we're trying to become very strategic as to where the trees will survive and not destroy infrastructure in the future.
Thank you. And then one final question, I guess it's for you, Nate. What is the intakes project?
That's everywhere around town. That's just where maybe water enters from Logan Township or Allegheny Township. It's been piped through the city in many places, so the structure that's at that headwater, if you will, a lot of them are in disrepair, and this project is adding those types of structures with some additional cleaning aspects to hopefully cut down on maintenance costs in the future for staff.
Thank you. That's all.
They're sort of filtering out, like when big parts of trees and different things would float down.
Say that again.
Like they're sort of like adding filters in a way, like so that the big trees and all the rocks and stuff don't come down from up the hill and clog the drains. So if we can get them at the intakes, that means we don't have to like be digging up streets and fixing things that way.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that all, Bill? Meeting adjourned.